It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you please, please won't you be my neighbor?
10 minutes!
We are in the third smallest public television market in the country. There are 210 media markets in the United States, and we are in market number 195. And the other two public television markets that are smaller than us are both in Alaska. There were a group of people in 1962 who recognized that educational television was something that could serve this small, very remote community.
During World War II, all of the TV licenses in the United States were frozen. And to keep a third commercial station out of the area, Bill Smullen and another group applied for the educational license, and that was Channel 13.
In the mid-1960s, the Federal Communications Commission decided that because of the population base, there could be only 3 television stations serving the north coast of California. At that time, the present commercial stations had already been established. KIM in 1953, KVIQ in 1958. In April of 1969, KEET began broadcasting.
The first studio was at 6th and D Streets. That used to be called the Radio Center. KEET was in a little garage that was vacated by the phone company.
We had HB cable TV on one side and KIM TV on the other side. People were constantly walking through our studio from one place to another in the middle of productions and things, just get from one job to another. It was like a little traffic jam sometimes. You know, it wasn't bad for those days, except all the equipment we had was old, antiquated stuff that was hand-me-down from KVIQ and from KIM.
Well, I think you can take it back to when KEET was first born, with gifts from the 2 commercial stations, with out-of-service equipment that had been dated or aged. It's a tough way to fly.
KEET, which had always operated in the red, was forced to move their studios to the unlikely location of Sacred Heart Elementary School.
All of a sudden, we were told that we had to not only move and leave our studios because they weren't available anymore, but we had to also move our transmitter. Our transmitter moved from the KIM site to the KVIQ site, and our studios moved from 6th Street in Eureka out to Sacred Heart.
In 1972, this building was owned by the commercial broadcaster KVIQ, and it burned, almost burned to the ground. And shortly thereafter, after some repairs were made, it was donated to the College of the Redwoods that held on to it for a little while and then donated it to KEET, and that's the building that we're in today.
When we first got the place, it had been boarded up since the fire happened, and that was 5-6 years at least. We were fortunate in those days. There was the CETA program for California Employment Training Act, and so we had people that the state paid that came in and put this building together, and it hasn't really changed much. Some of it is a little rustic, and if you put a hole in the sheetrock, you'll find their soot comes out because there's still some burned wood behind it. But at least it's our own, and we don't have to worry about having to be forced out or moved somewhere.
Jim Turk came along as the manager, and he put together a group that rebuilt the interior of the station. That's where I finally wound up right after Jim left. They got me to watch the programming, and I had never watched basically the real programs KEET was running at the time. Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Nature. I was very impressed with the program, so I agreed to go to work for them.
When Saint joined, it was nice to have somebody who was familiar with television and with production, and who was also well known locally.
My name is St. Clair Adams, and for 8 years, Channel 13 has broadcast a variety of programs to Humboldt and Del Norte counties. These years have not been easy for Channel 13, and problems, such as this, trying to build a studio without sufficient funds are not unusual. Yet, in spite of these difficulties, KEET has managed to stay on the air.
It was very interesting because I have been in commercial television for almost 20 some odd years, What we learned was basically that KEET's membership was very, very low at the time. So we started to generate members, and we had nowhere to go but up. Programming began to get more expensive. We got what they call the Community Service Grant, which was a big help as far as our budget was concerned.
In order to be eligible to receive money from the federal government, each individual station must raise at least $150,000. For many stations, this amount is not a problem. To KEET, it's a major obstacle.
We were able to get a line of credit, but it was really tough going. And now I understand it's even a more critical situation in that if the station didn't raise $800,000, they were in then jeopardy of losing the federal grant, which now I think is up around $300,000 and some odd $1,000. That would be very devastating.
Funding for this program was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
CPB exists to administer the federal grants. It's about 40% of our budget, so that's pretty hefty. We've already gone through the waivers that CPB grants when you don't hit the minimum amount of funding. There are some stations that if they lost their federal funding, yeah, they'd take a hit, but it's not going to put them out of business or anything like that. But there are a whole lot more of them that if they were to lose their federal funding, they're not ready. It's not a question of whether the community is philanthropic or not. That's not the case. It is a question of available resources.
Being a station, a little station that could, we are constantly challenged by this very large amount of money that we have to raise. So we are vulnerable. If we lose this, we lose a part of our local character. We lose part of the thread that holds us together as a community. To lose that local connection means we lose a little part of ourselves.
It was almost as if people didn't believe that we would actually come to this point, to where CPB would say, your time is up. We decided that what was missing was the human element, that for us to really, really come to an understanding of what had to happen next, we needed to be in the same room with the folks from CPB and hash this out, and that's when I decided it was time to go to Washington. I flew into not only the middle of the federal government shutdown, but also one of the biggest winter storms that had hit the DC area in a long time. They were so excited to see us at PBS headquarters, like we were celebrities, especially when the CEO comes in and sits down with us. It's like, we didn't expect that.
The importance of public broadcasting across the country is significant. My hope is that everyone joining arms together will ensure the future of this great station.
After that, we went and met with Representative Huffman.
I think showing up in the Capitol, explaining why this is such a challenge in rural communities is the only way that we're going to get through to members of Congress.
It was like Sisyphus rolling the rock up the hill, and you would get so far and the rock would roll back over you again. You just hate to have to start over every year, and you never ever really hit the threshold that had been set. We're never going to make this, and at some point CPB is going to say enough is enough, and some sort of action, which isn't going to be good for KEET, is going to be taken. Although KEET TV has not met the minimum support eligibility requirement of $800,000, it qualifies for a 2020 Community Service Grant per the policy approved by the CPB board in September of 2019. There was about $150,000 to $200,000 in revenue that KEET was receiving every year and continues to receive, but we were not able to count that toward that $800,000 from CPB. Now we are able to count that, and that made a big difference. The message to the community would be, you've got a wonderful resource here. It was here long before I got here. It's going to be thanks to this community. It's going to be here a long time after I'm gone. Make sure that what I just said remains true and support this institution and this community asset that you have. It's a great thing. You've done a great job building it up to what it is. Keep it going, because it really is up to you.
I love KEET TV and always will.
Happy anniversary, KEET TV.
Happy 50th anniversary, KEET TV.
Happy 50th anniversary, KEET TV. Well done.
I love KEET TV.
I love KEET TV. You're good at that. I do.
I love KEET TV.
Happy 50th anniversary, 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 KEET TV.
Happy 50th birthday, KEET TV.
Happy 50th anniversary, KEET TV.
I'm sure their future is going to be bright.
Happy anniversary, Channel 13, from all your friends on Sesame Street.
Happy anniversary and many happy returns.
If you love quality public television, please donate to KEET now.